Hello, everyone. Tania Gustafson here, your nutritionist and fitness coach. Welcome back to another episode of Fit Nutrition Podcast. So today we're going to talk about the things that might be holding you back. So there's three things, and the top two things I usually hear, or the things that most often come to mind, I say, why is it, or what's holding you back from achieving your health goals, basically? When people come to me and, we have a little chit chat. And the top two things are always time and money. Okay. So just keep that one in mind, time and money. But there is a third one. And a lot of times we don't even recognize it's there. So let me just start out with the first two. And if you see me looking at other places, I've got some notes here. So I don't want to miss anything. All right. So if you're thinking about things in time, how much time you don't have, how much time was left over, the mad sprint of the day or the week or whatever was done. I used to think about, oh my gosh, we only had 24 hours in a day and I wish there were more and all of that kind of stuff. But then, just because you wish it doesn't make it happen, right? And then I got thinking, and I love quotes. Anyone who follows me, that I love quotes. My kids used to call me Quam, stands for quote mom, because I used to send them one almost every day. I don't send them every day anymore. I send them every once in a while, but I love quotes. They're inspiring and they're usually pertaining to something relevant. And I remember hearing this one that says, "Don't say you don't have enough time. You have exactly the same number of hours per day that were given to Helen Keller, Pasteur, Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Edison, and Albert Einstein." And that was a quote by H. Jackson Brown. And he's absolutely right. How is it that some people tend to have so much more time in their day? Or it appears that they do. Clearly they don't, right? We all have the same number of hours, minutes, and seconds. But how is it that some people are maximizing and optimizing that, and others, sometimes we seem to struggle, So it sums it up, but it doesn't offer a solution, right? So that how these amazing humans accomplished all that they did, and in far less favorable conditions, I might add, right? We're living in this first world nation without all of those things, those obstacles that those people had. So what I also learned, and I attend a lot of events, health, wellness, mental wellness, personal development, all of those kinds of things, because I think it's important for our overall health, our mental health, and just in dealing with people. So the other thing that I learned and heard recently, and maybe not so recently now, but I've really come to adopt it. And instead of saying things like, "Oh, I don't have time for that," or I don't have time for that right now, I can't do that, I have to do XYZ, or my gosh, I just can't fit that into my day, whatever it is, however you phrase it, start replacing that with "I don't have time," replace that with "that's not a priority for me right now." And then see what happens. Because, the important things in life my goodness, my tongue today. The important things in life are often bullied and regulated by the urgent things. Okay. So think about that. Urgent things, right? So say you've got a whole bunch of things planned. You need to get stuff done in your yard. The kids are at school, and all of a sudden the neighbor runs over and their sink is overflowing. Oh my gosh, they need your help. You run over there, you help. And that hour that you had laid out to plant the plants or to till the garden or whatever it was while your kids were at school is now gone. Of course, it was important. It's urgent to go and help your neighbor. They needed your help. That important thing didn't get done, right? So we have to think about all of these urgent things that come on us and just build some margins in around our day for that. So that being said, there are those physical things that we do in the day, but in this digital age, there are a lot of things that steal our time, our focus, and our attention and our energy, right? So if you're asked to make a list prioritizing what you'd like to get done and what you'd like to spend time with in a day, I'm sure that social media isn't something you'd actually write on your list, right? But yet somehow we find ourselves spending precious time on all of those. I don't have to list all the platforms. You have your favorite one, right? But those shiny things catch your attention, the things that make you go squirrel, right? It's kind of, ooh, we've all seen the squirrel and they take off. That sort of a thing, right? Gets your focus gone. And so just now, if you know these kinds of things, now you can set those boundaries around for yourself. Because if that's something that you enjoy, that's a little bit of a downtime for you, where you mindlessly just scroll, or you go and watch little clips or a movie or whatever it happens to be, if that's your downtime, then designate a set part of a set bit of time for that, as opposed to just, oh, I'm going to just go on here for a while and there's never any end to it, right? So you kind of get where I'm going with that, so that it's something that you can still manage. If it's something that you enjoy or you need to do for your work, then if it needs to do for your work, then you obviously have it mapped out in the time of day that you're doing that. But if it's something that you're doing after work, lunch hour, at home, in the evening, whatever it is, set out a time for yourself of when you're going to do this and when you're going to put it away, so that you can then spend the rest of the evening, day, afternoon, whatever it is, doing those things that you would have liked to see on your list, that you would love to have time for. Okay, so that's one of the biggest time stealers there. And so I'm just, sharing that with you. Another one that I found that makes a huge difference is to turn the notifications off on your phone. The little icons that tell you how many pings that you've had, even if you don't have the volume on, like lots of people don't have the volume on because they're at work, right? So that you can't have that noise dinging you all day. But in addition to that, so that when you pick up your phone and look at it, you don't see all those little red dots of a million messages that have come in when you've not looked at it. So that way, it's not a source of stress that makes you urgently, remember, it's not important, becomes urgent though, because there's all these red things. It might not be important, but the urgency makes you want to click on it. So that way, if you're not seeing it, you can then designate a time that you're going to go and check your messages, or a couple times throughout the day, and you deal with it, and then you put it away. And you come back, you deal with it, and you put it away. And you will find you can get back at least a couple hours in your day worth of productive and more enjoyable time, and your stress level will come down. So that's how we handle time. Because that has to do with our health in so many respects, right? Because we don't have time to maybe prep, or we don't have time to go to the gym, or we don't have time to take a walk, or whatever it happens to be. Well, again, we're back to that 24 hours, right? The same 24 hours that everybody has. How are we structuring that? Okay, so finances is the other one, right? The top two, and then we'll get to the third one. Don't worry, I didn't forget about that. Finances is the third, or the second rather, that people bring up as a barrier when it comes to making changes that's going to benefit them. Oh, eating healthy is expensive is the one that I hear most often. Anybody resonate? Especially right now, right? Prices are going up. I'm not gonna poo-poo on that. But is it really too expensive to make a few healthier choices? Okay, if you're gonna go all organic and non-GMO, which is a really good idea if you can, because those things are laden with a lot of stuff that our bodies really cannot assimilate and metabolize, and it just plugs up our filtering systems. But there is always a cost factor involved, and I totally get that. So they do cost a little bit more per item, but then are you truly aware of what you're actually spending on the whole nutrient dense foods versus food like substances? Okay, so that's something. So here's a little kitchen litmus test. All right, so go ahead and when we're done here, or you can take me with you in your phone or wherever, go ahead and take a quick inventory of your cupboard, your fridge, your freezer, pantry, etc., and take a little note of anything that you have in a package, box, bag, can, wrapper that isn't a whole food. Okay, so frozen carrots or frozen beans or whatever, they don't count. They're a whole food, right? So you get where I'm going. Take a look and see how many boxes of like cereal you have, or chips, or cookies, or you get where I'm going with this, right? Take a look and see how many things you have that are pre-packaged, pre-prepared, hanging around in your house. Because I can guarantee you, even the best, most healthy person you can think of is going to have some. Trust me, we just all do. It's a human thing. So take a look at those things and do a quick mental math. All right, so you kind of know how much these things cost because you're buying them, right? So you got to kind of know how much they cost. Do a little quick addition in your head and sort of do a little mental math and figure out, oh, how much did that cost? All of those things on that shelf, total them up. Do that going, keep a little running tab, and then just see Now multiply that by 4 if you're shopping every week. Most people do shop every week, but multiply that by the number of times that you shop in a month or a week, whatever it is. And then you're going to go ahead and then add any delivery charges or online fees if you're shopping that way, right? Or the Starbucks latte that you grab on the way to the grocery store, all that kind of stuff. And then take a look at what that number is. It doesn't take a math genius to see how quickly this stuff can add up, right? Simply now, if we're aware of this, now redistributing what you would have spent on lower quality, non-food, food simulated items, you can now transfer that to spend that on whole, nutrient dense, organic, non-GMO foods that you can nourish your body from a cellular level, right? Because we're either fueling our body or we're putting toxins in it. We're either, getting healthier or we're not. So there's not really any in-betweeners there. Your body, the food that you're putting in is either nourishing it or it's poison. There's not really a lot of in-betweeners. And I know it seems a little bit harsh, but just trust me on that. And reading labels, if you're going to read labels, and we should be, take a look at those things that you added up and read the labels and think if those individual items in there that maybe you can't pronounce, maybe you didn't realize were in there, would you actually just go and ingest that thing on its own? Because if you wouldn't, why are you eating it combined with the actual food items that are in there, right? Okay, so food for thought. See what I did there? Okay, so now you can redistribute that wealth. So let's to recap for time, thinking about that's not a priority for me right now, and see how that makes you feel, right? If we're, instead of saying I don't have enough time, saying that's not a priority for me right now. And then you're going to get which ones are. Then turning the notifications off on your phone, having specific times to check your messages and your phone, and going on social media is going to really pare down that flux in your day of how much time you have. Because you'll notice, I'm sure everyone notices, yeah, I did, that some days I just seemed to have a lot of time, and things were going really well and I was just on a roll and I got a ton of stuff done. And other days it was like, oh my gosh, I can barely get through these, this short little list of stuff. And it was like, interesting. So if you want a deeper dive into that, I highly recommend the book called Time Cleanse. And maybe we should do a book study on that at some point. Anyway, Time Cleanse, really great book. So you can check on that. So then the second one would be money. Right? So redistributing what you're currently spending, not necessarily having to spend more, but taking a look at what's in your pantry. You may not have a ton of items, but what little bit you do have, repurpose that, redistribute that. It also might be, maybe you eat out a lot. Maybe you don't have a lot of packaged foods in your house, but you eat out a lot. Maybe paring that back so that you can buy more nutrient dense foods for, and fuel your body better that way, because it's going to save you money. And it's going to be healthier. All right. So the last thing is fear. Okay. And it's not that people are afraid to be healthy. No one ever says that, right? Fear comes from the thought of change, the unknown. Even though, where you are is not where you want to be necessarily, if you're looking at changing your health, but where you're headed is new and it's uncharted territory. So new is different. It's unfamiliar. So even when the changes are good, right? If that unfamiliar feeling is left sort of unchecked, it could grow into discomfort, creating a cycle of self-sabotage that keeps you stuck and prevents you from achieving your goals. Okay. I worked with clients who, after losing weight, okay, this is an example. I have worked with clients who, after losing weight and starting to feel amazing and seeing changes in their body, they stopped doing those things that were working to purposely regain the weight because it was such an unfamiliar place for them that it made them uncomfortable and that overwhelmed them. And they didn't really realize why they were doing that at the time, but it was just like, I have to get back to something that feels familiar. So when you just recognize that as you're on this journey of health or starting your journey of health, that yes, things will be a little bit different. You might be in that unfamiliar territory, and that's okay. You can do it small steps at a time, and I highly recommend that you do. Thinking about 1%, right? If you've been following me for a while, you'll know what 1% is. 1% principle means that today I can do 1% better for my health than I did yesterday. And I believe everybody on this planet can do that. So when you do that, and then you're consistent about that, people say in 100 days, you'll be 100% better. No, it's even more than that. Think about that penny doubled every day for a month. Remember that? Everyone heard about that? It's about $5 million. That's way more than, the 30 that you think it's going to be, or 60 or what have you. It's exponential growth. And that's what happens, because as you keep doing the 1%, it grows on it and grows on it and grows on it. It's like that compound interest in your investments. That's what we want. We want compound interest, right? So that we can maximize our return on our investment. Well, as you're investing your time into yourself, you want to maximize that return, right? So doing those little things and then being consistent with them over time causes change, but it doesn't cause like a complete turnaround, a complete 180, overnight. Because sometimes that is really, that can be detrimental, and that can cause people to fall off plan and go back to where they were, because it's just such an uncharted area, especially if you are someone who has come from a life of chronic dieting. I've worked with people who, when they were 12 or 13, their mom took them to Weight Watchers and started them on that, or they were a young teenager and started, joined cheerleading or something like that, and thought, oh, I need to stop eating. I'm too heavy because someone said something, and they've just been on that chronic diet roller coaster their whole life. So if that's someplace you come from, and you've had a bit of success, you gained it back. You had a little bit more and you gained it back. So that's not really success, and it's not really working, right? If it keeps coming back and what you're doing to lose the weight isn't what you're also doing to try and maintain that weight. And that's what we do here is whatever you're doing to lose weight is what you're going to do to maintain weight, so that it becomes a lifestyle, something that's familiar, that you can do anywhere, anytime, any situation, forever. Isn't that really what we want? Otherwise, why would we start something in the first place, right? So to recap, those things that hold you back, that might be holding you back: finances, time, or fear, right? So I don't know, could be one, could be a combination of all three, could be two. I don't know. Only you know what it is for you. But now that we've unpacked a few of these things, maybe if any of these things resonate with you, I encourage you, drop them in the comments, ask some questions. Or if you've had a strategy that you really love that you've implemented, let me know. Share those with me so that we can share them with all of our followers, with all our Fit Lifers, and have everybody learn from each other. Because that's really, one of the reasons that I do this, why I do these podcasts, is to help reach more people, to help people, and to live a life longer, stronger, better, and just, die younger at the end of your life, right? We want to live till the end, not just keep breathing longer while we're on this planet. I mean, there's a difference, right? So anyway, thanks for joining me here today on Fit Nutrition Podcast. My name is Tania Gustafson, nutritionist and fitness coach. Like I said, thank you so much for joining. It's always a pleasure. And I really love to hear from all my listeners and watchers and readers, if you're reading my column as well too. So please drop your comments there. Reach out if you have some questions. I am here to help. So see you back here next week on Fit Nutrition Podcast. Thanks for joining.